Hello, my name is Dr. Val Huet, and I'm delighted to have been invited to contribute a statement in support of this very exciting event. Within the British Association of Art Therapists, and in my previous post as Chief Executive Officer, a few of us were very aware of the importance of stopping the code of silence that surrounded being an art therapist and having had experiences of mental health services. In 2011, a seminal study was published by Amy Woods and Neil Springham, who are both art therapists. And Amy had had an experience of being an inpatient in a service where Neil was working also as an art therapist and the head of services. He was not treating her directly, but he was around the service that she was using. And this publication was really incredible because it talked about Amy's experience of coming into the service and what worked for her, importantly, what did not work for her, and her experience of trying to do art therapy when she was very unwell and on an inpatient ward, and how difficult it was sometimes, and what enabled her to get back into art therapy as well. It was very important because it really challenged the don't ask, don't tell code of silence that really surrounds a lot of professions, but particularly and very sadly, psychological therapies profession. Because there is a kind of belief that if you're a therapist and you're okay, you don't need support, you've had your therapy and you can sort of basically, go through life's knocks or ups and downs, just with therapy, but you certainly don't use mental health services. Of course, this is not true. And it's really important to challenge this code of silence. It's important because it's not fair, but also it's really important because we were missing from learning about the experience of people who'd seen both sides of it and who could come back within our profession and tell us, we need to think about this, we need to challenge this, we need to have these conversations. And so it was really very helpful to interrogate our traditional paradigms of practice within art therapy with the input and with the help of people who had dual experience as art therapists and mental health service users. It is important because actually it makes for much better art therapy that works for service users and that meets their needs where they are. It's also really helpful that a little bit later, we set up the dual experience group in the professional body, which was open to people who wanted to join and who had experiences of mental health services and were art therapists. We recognize that having the support of the professional body and actually having a clear statement about not only, oh, it's okay, we won't mind, but actually it's really helpful and it's a very important contribution, was paramount to challenging the stigma that was attached to having had mental health problems as an art therapist. So the role of the professional body then, and that started in 2014, was really seminal in making sure that this issue was just not going to be swept under the carpet again. We really feel that this co-production approach between people who had experiences of mental health services and art therapists who may not have had this experience and service users is really important, not just within practice, but also within research. So it needs to be embedded all throughout the journey of becoming a professional, and it starts in the training. And it goes on in professional life, and it goes whatever you want to do, whether you want to be a clinician, a researcher, or an academic. It's really important to do this. It's also important to flag up that this is not a linear process. So it's not because someone had used mental health services before they become a therapist and they're going to be okay. That doesn't work like this. Some of my friends and colleagues have had some relapses and have had to take interruptions of study, And I think this is the work. So it's really useful to think about this as, you know, a lifelong support of people who sometimes may have ups and downs in their process of living their lives, having had mental health issues. It's also so exciting that you're going to have this exhibition because, of course, for us art therapists, the art is at the heart of our process. And we know that art saves lives. We know that art enriches lives. We know that it supports not only, you know, mental health, but actually well-being in general. And I'm so excited as well because there will be people who are not necessarily associated normally with the word of art, who may be able to kind of like share their images. And again, this is something that within the association, you know, I worked on quite a lot when I was involved in it, which is art is not for the experts, it is for everyone. And I hope that this exhibition is going to be a celebration of the fact that art is for everyone. And actually, it works best when we work within a non-stigmatizing approach, both as service users and as professionals. So thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Hi there everybody, my name is Barbara and I'm a GP in Edinburgh, and I'm really excited about the upcoming art exhibition which is very kindly being supported by Integrate Mental Health. I firmly believe that those who have lived experience of illness have a vital role to play in helping others to improve and recover from their own healthcare conditions. The barriers between healthcare professionals and those who have health conditions are gradually being dismantled, and that can only be a good thing. The truth is that we are all human and we're all likely to have mental or physical illnesses at some point in our lives, and we can all learn from each other's experiences. I really hope to see you at the art exhibition so that we can connect and we can share and learn from each other and continue to break down these barriers.
So I'm really excited about the art exhibition because it's an expression that's beyond language. And I think we need as many opportunities as possible to express ourselves beyond language, because trauma, power imbalances, stigmatization, these are all things that sit in the body. So they can be really difficult to put into words and to articulate. But when we're using art form or music or any of those mediums, they're a really wonderful way of expressing something. Stigmatization, I think, is when we arrive into our workplace, it's not just the pressures that we have externally to show up in a certain way, but there's the way we feel we're supposed to show up. And then there's the way that the people we're walking alongside expect us to show up. can be really difficult sometimes to pull all of that together and to just be a person who is arriving into a space to walk alongside another person who needs someone to walk with. And you know, it depends upon what's available in the workplace to help and support us, because if we've got really good clinical supervision, then that's going to help us in that context to understand, well, which bit of this is for supervision. And a really good supervisor might be able to notice something and work with someone and say, actually, that's more therapeutic. That's something outside of the supervision process. And it's about having that space where you can think about, what is this that I'm feeling? This is pushing my buttons. This is difficult for me. And it's meaning that I'm not working in the way I want to. Yeah, so that social pedagogy model, which looks at the 3 Ps, the private, the personal, and the professional, argues that when we have the professional and the personal intersecting, then we're going to be able to create the best relationships. But where that gets really tricky is when we start bringing the private stuff into that space, because that blurs the boundaries and it means that you're having to be there for me. I think we can cultivate belonging, mattering, safety, all of these things that we talk about so freely if we don't feel them for ourselves. And the difficulty when we arrive into professional spaces with different lived experiences that might well be the same lived experiences as the people we're working with, is that services weren't really set up for that. Services actually were set up with this idea that there's a them and there's an us, and we're here to help those people, rather than actually we are the people and we all bring different experiences with us. So my plea, I guess, is always going to be around service creation that understands that we are all humans bringing ourselves into the work, while at the same time having a responsibility to have to do the work ourselves, to do our own healing work. But we're not different. We're not here to help those poor people over there that are somehow different from us. And that's the great challenge, because that, for me, feels like that's very integrated into how systems were set up and still lingers today through service provision.
Hi there, I'm Corrina Eastwood, and I just wanted to say something really quickly about this exhibition, about the Inside Outsider exhibition, and what I kind of perceive as the real importance of it happening. I think everything that it's trying to speak to and make space for in terms of conversations around dual experience are so important. My work, I'm an artist and an art psychotherapist, and I write a bit and teach with focus on thinking about kind of intersectionality, self-reflexivity in practice, and really kind of ideas surrounding anti-oppressive practice, and integrating, you know, our own lived experiences very much into the way in which we kind of work as practitioners. So there's something really important about like doing that through the arts, obviously, because it's, you know, if there's subjects that go unspoken of or like a taboo, then the best way, one of the great ways to give voice, you know, to those issues is through art. We know that. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the great reasons that this exhibition is happening. But there's something about not only like breaking taboo, but kind of like, for me and the kind of work that I do, there's something like really important about not just kind of being honest for honest's sake about our own lived experiences of mental health difficulties as mental health practitioners, but like also giving opportunity for us to have really open discussions as practitioners, as professionals,
about not only about how, you know, we can use those lived experiences of mental health difficulties that we may all have had, but just other lived experiences as well. You know, integrate those experiences into the way that we self-reflect and work with our clients, to really kind of ethically inform, you know, the way that we work. And this huge gap, this kind of gap in the conversation, in trainings, in the discourse, in the literature around that, you know, I think has been a detriment to ethical practice in many kind of realms. But obviously I speak primarily from being an art psychotherapist. So yeah, I wrote several chapters and co-edited a book called Intersectionality in the Art Psychotherapies, which talks a lot about, in lots of different ways, from so many awesome writers that contributed, about how we need to self-reflect meaningfully in terms of our own lived experiences to really work ethically with our clients. And that can be therapeutically or in other ways as mental health practitioners. So yeah, really important exhibition, really excited it's happening. And I think I'll probably see you there. So thanks for listening.
Hello everybody, I'm Professor Brendan McCormack, Head of the Susan Wakil School of Nursing and Midwifery and Dean in the Faculty of Medicine and Health at the University of Sydney. And before this job, which I've been doing for about 14 months now, I was previously Head of Division in Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh, where I headed up the occupational therapy, arts therapies, nursing and paramedic science teams, where we were delighted to host the MAD Studies Master's Programme. I want to say congratulations to Don and the Integrate Mental Health team for putting on this fantastic and important art exhibition. Lived experience research is no doubt anymore that it offers a real contribution to the lives of people and in understanding mental health much more fully than before. I do believe strongly that lived experience is an equally valid form of knowledge as other forms of evidence, and so it is delighted that we are seeing art as a medium for expressing that lived experience. For over 20 years, I've been researching the personhood of persons and arguing really strongly that the personhood of health professionals is as equally important to those of those in need of care and in need of our health services. And so it is wonderful that the art exhibition is focusing on the lived experience of health professionals who are often neglected in this conversation. Person-centeredness applies to everyone, and so if we expect those in using services to receive person-centered care, then it is equally important that those who are providing care are treated with the same values. So I want to congratulate you all on putting on this fantastic exhibition. I hope it is a huge success, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes and to see it growing to be a global movement. Have a great time.